Greetings! Hey guys! Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, greetings. Hi. If not, thank you guys so much for coming back. I have the most exciting news ever. Okay, it was my birthday. My crown birthday. I turned 27 on the 27th of January. And the best birthday present was getting 100 subscribers. So that was a nice little surprise. I really didn't see that coming. So greetings to those of you who are new. Welcome to my humble abode, the bottom of my bed. So it was just such a lovely birthday present to see all the nice comments on my emotional independence video. If you haven't looked at it, have a look. It was really very sweet, and I saw all your comments, and I hope I replied to everyone. Yeah, so it was a really good moment. Thanks guys. Welcome back. And speaking of birthdays, it relates to this video. I always get super angsty and introspective before my birthday, and this year was absolutely no different. For some reason, I've been putting a lot of pressure on myself for this to be like the year. So I was having major angst about finding my purpose on this earth, and in such a way that I was like really getting quite panicked for some reason, trying to figure out what this whole purpose business was. And if you go and Google what is my purpose on the internet, I promise you, like Tony Robbins and Jay Shetty come up, and obviously those big celebs and stuff, they have their place and they understand what they're talking about and have done way more research and worked with way more people. But unfortunately, in that regard, with those people in that context, it just doesn't always resonate. Do you know what I'm saying? And so the solution to much of my angst, as I've learned in therapy, is to turn inward and to be still and to use the tools I've learned in order to come up with the answers on my own, in order to find the answers within, and in order to be okay with those answers changing as I grow and change as a person. I feel that I've come up with a blueprint for myself that I would really love to share with you guys, and I feel like it's very simple, and I hope these are actionable tips that you guys can use. And yeah, leave some comments below. If you make it to the end of the video, remember to comment your 3 favorite emojis. I think we're not here for one singular purpose. I think we're here to live on purpose. Hear me out. I'm gonna repeat it. I don't think we each have this 1 or 2 or even 3 like cosmic big things that like shake our world and say this is who you are and this is what you're gonna do forever. No, I think we are here to live on purpose. And I say that because what happens if you believe you're here to sing or do a sport and then you lose your voice or are unable to continue in said sport because of an injury? Have you then lost your purpose? No, I don't think that's possible. We all have intrinsic value, and we all have this something we can all bring to the world, and it's like unique to all of us, and it's from the same source, in my very own opinion, not to force that onto anyone. But if we are all here and have intrinsic value, your purpose can't be a singular act. I think we are here to live on purpose. Not just to find a purpose, but to actively live on purpose. Let me elaborate. Living on purpose is about finding the highest, truest, most authentic version of yourself and living that out through the tools you have been given. So I'm defining having a purpose as living on purpose. And I'm defining living on purpose as finding or discovering the truest highest, most loving expression of yourself and using the tools or talents you've been given to express that version of yourself. Furthermore, I think that version of ourselves is constantly changing. And so our work in this world is to go with the ebb and flow of life, and we're going to change. And as a result of that, our truest, highest version, that beautiful version of us, also will change in accordance with us changing. And isn't that so beautiful to know that you can use those tools you've been given, but you don't have to stay static. In fact, you can't stay static. One of the only constants in life is change. And so to say somebody has a singular purpose, and I think some people do, like if you are some amazing musician and you've been given this talent and you're a prodigy and you spend your whole life living out the truest, highest version of yourself, you're doing that through a tool, which would have been music or whatever it is, to express that. You are not just that. You are using yourself and your being to express who you are through those tools and talents. And that's something I am clutching onto very closely. My first step in my living on purpose is intentionality. Intentionality is key. In one of my earlier videos, probably my first or second video, I spoke about how I learned in therapy that we live most of our lives in survival mode, and we're constantly just reacting based on what our subconscious is giving us instruction-wise. So living in survival mode actually has nothing to do with intentionality and more with our bodies trying to protect us from future dangers based on the traumas or experiences we've had in life. So if you find you are constantly living in this reactionary survival mode state and you're often feeling not in charge, confused, you're like leaning into destructive or people-pleasing behaviors, even hyper-independence can be a trauma response. So within that context, living in survival mode is when we give away our power. Sometimes we know, sometimes we don't know. But living in survival mode is not how you're meant to live for the rest of your life. There are times when you're unsafe and your brain makes sure to keep you safe and pumps adrenaline out and gives you certain survival and coping skills that might not help you to thrive, but just to survive. For me, intentionality is about stepping out of that realm where everything outside of me affects me to such an extent that I am unable to continue living. Essentially, living intentionally is about taking back control of what I can control and releasing what I cannot. So you cannot control all of the things that happen to you. And sometimes I argue that you can't always control your reaction in that moment. But you can always use tools to get better at responding instead of reacting. So intentionality, living your life with intentionality, and I speak about this often and I won't stop preaching it. It means doing the hard things, getting up early to exercise so that your mind is clear and that you're not letting everything else dictate to you what you're gonna do or be today. Exercise helps you clear your mind. It makes you fitter, you feel better, you can live longer if that's your wish, and as a result you look better, and looking good helps you feel good too. Therefore, exercising, meditating, and that can be any kind of spiritual practice. It can be your creative work, if you're an artist, which I believe we are all artists within our field. That is a part of meditation, but you need to really lean into doing those things because those are not things we always just feel like doing. It's not always natural to put yourself in an uncomfortable position like exercising, But the consequences of not doing that means staying in this sort of reactionary survival mode the whole time, where everything triggers you, and that's not a life, living healed and slow and intentionally. That's a life. So I encourage you to write down a few things that maybe it scares you to do or scares you to start, but those things bring some intentionality in your life. And sometimes when you're not able to follow through, give yourself some grace and understand it's what you put out that's going to continuously come back. So constantly and consistently putting out a certain intention and then executing upon those difficult and annoying things gives you a bigger picture where you start responding and healing in relation to life and all the good things that life can offer as well. So step number 2 or tip number 2, I don't know really what to call these, is your values, right? I find that in my early 20s, when I was really just living a people-pleasing kind of life, I was very much a chameleon, and my values would often oscillate based on who I was with. Those things would change and shift, and it wasn't when I started realizing that, hang on, I can decide what my values are and cut out people, circumstances, and situations that don't fit in that. I am in control to some degree of what I let in to my life. And you need a set of core values, things you will and will not stand for, things you will and will not do. Those values are subject to change within different phases of life. Like I said, we avoid binary black and white thinking, but having a list of values, things you won't tolerate with other people and with yourself. A value for me is that I will not tolerate berating or speaking myself down as something that's normal, that's unfair and unnecessary and particularly unhelpful to my progression and healing and being and that truest version of myself, right? A value of mine is that if I won't tolerate that with a friend, I won't tolerate that with me. If I won't tolerate people being mean to each other, I won't tolerate that with myself, with me. You don't know what I'm saying? So you need to have a few core values. I have like 5, but they change. You can add, subtract. It is up to yours, that you write down things that you will not tolerate with yourself and with other people, no matter how close you are to those people, and you live according to those values. Now that you have those, you can have a look at them every morning, once a week, once a month, and just check in with yourself and decide, am I living according to these 1 or 2 rules that I've set up for myself? And if so, well done, continue. And if not, why not? Are you slipping back into people-pleasing tendencies? Are you still having to learn how to communicate your needs? Are you still having to push yourself and make sure you follow through and do the things you say you were gonna do? It's hard, but when we break promises to ourselves, it's harder to keep promises to other people. So within this context of purpose, being okay with ambiguity means being okay with multiple things being true at once. When you are okay with multiple things being true at once, it is much easier to flow with life instead of fighting life. One of the intentions I've set for myself is to flow with life. It's to be okay when things aren't necessarily going my way, to see a bigger picture, because most of the time when something wasn't going my way, it was for the greater good, and I could only see that in hindsight. Does that make sense? And so being okay with multiple things being true at once means that I don't have to chase some ultimate big purpose. This is the thing I'm going to do forever. I can really be okay with being present in each and every day, and to take each day as it comes, and to be okay if my decisions change, to be okay with becoming a bit more mature, to be okay with maybe losing some people in your life to open bigger doors, to be okay with being the person who closes certain doors, you know what I'm saying? And I find that being okay with ambiguity and leaving behind binary thinking has allowed me to be brave. It means I don't know what the outcome of this will be, but I choose to believe that it's for the greater good, even if it doesn't feel nice right now. As long as you are sitting still within your true knowing, which is the next point, it's okay if it's not just one big thing you spend the rest of your life on. And it's okay if it is. Do you know what I mean? Being okay with whatever comes, but being intentional and having initiative. That's the word. Initiative based on the information you have at that time. My last point, maybe point 4, maybe point 5, is what I call the knowing. I think I read it in a book, but it is trusting the inner voice within. Once you've taken the time to learn your own intuition and come to terms with your body and feeling safe with your body, the knowing. My allegiance is to the voice within at this point in my life. I know that I live my purpose every single day and that I shine out my truest, highest version of myself when I trust the voice within. And for me, that's a biggie, because that voice within is the voice I have ignored the most, the voice I have pushed away, and it's the voice I've regretted ignoring and pushing away many, many times, because there are so many heartbreaks I could have avoided, so many situations I didn't have to land in purely because I was living in survival mode. And so that inner voice sometimes I thought was anxiety, but really it was just my body, my spirit, my vibration telling me, you're not where you should be right now and you should remove yourself from the situation. And I was like, nah. And so for me, living my purpose every day is about honing my intuition and trusting the knowing. When I trust the knowing, I live out the truest, highest, most loving version of myself. And that is living on purpose. And what is living on purpose? It's how you find your purpose, baby. Mwah. It's your purpose. Okay. It was convoluted, but I hope you get it. Like and subscribe. See you later.